More Heart Than Talent Radio.
Jeffery Combs, president and founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Tuesday, GMS call. We have changed the name. We, Dylan Albertson and I, have officially changed the name from the More Heart Than Talent Mindset call to the Golden Mastermind Seminar Mindset call. So welcome to the 4 o'clock Eastern Standard live Facebook Live. Henry, welcome to Facebook Live this afternoon. Scott Lucas, welcome to Facebook Live. In 1998, I launched the brand Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Then in 2002, within that company, that's the corporation, I launched the brand More Heart Than Talent. That was the title of my first book. Joe DiBianca, good to see you. Joe DiBianca has been on this call more than anyone, or this live, more than anyone in the history of the platform of this Facebook Live. So I launched the brand Golden Mastermind Seminars. Actually, in 1996, it was called Golden Mastermind Group. In 1998, I formed a California corporation. And then in 2002, I launched the brand More Heart Than Talent, which was the name of my very first book. It was a CD set and many, many events. In the last 60 days, I went through a lot of changes. I've downsized a lot of my life. I've sold part of my car collection. I got married last November. I'm simplifying my life a lot more. I have one employee, and it is absolutely exceptional to be able to live the life I'm living today. So it's a lot less streamlined. It's a lot more streamlined, less complicated. I'm not traveling 150,000 air miles, and I'm not speaking 40 to 50 times. Now, when the vigil, the pandemic, COVID-19, the narration, whatever term that is being used, subsists, subsides, goes back to some level of a new, whatever we're going to be is new. And I feel and when it's time to go speak, I will go out and speak. So I'm looking forward to that. But for right now, I'll be producing content right here from the comfort of my home. In the next few months, I'm going to launch the Protege Writers Speakers online platform. That will be a 2-day event, a 4-hour event, back-to-back for 2 days. That'll be on a Friday and a Saturday. And many of you know that your companies were not able to have national conventions, and some of you had to cancel events that you were speaking. So you're being your best while doing your best at the same time. And so today's Facebook Live is dedicated to rebranding my original brand, Golden Mastermind Seminars. For in the future, this will be called the GMS Facebook Live, and you'll see that my brand will be GMS only. I started a sobriety consciousness group last year. I launched that group successfully and handed that out over to the admin, Scott Lucas, Wayne Clark, and Matt Smith, who is the head admin, and they're doing an exceptionally admirable job, while I am focused specifically on building my Golden Mastermind Seminars brand. It means I'm simplifying, streamlining, and simplifying. And that's what I'm going to assist you with today, is really learning how to find that power within you, and so that you let go of a lot of tasks and duties that don't reward you, and you have a single-minded focus. And you're able to successfully and exceptionally be able to devote your energy to where it will bring you the greatest return on T&E, time and energy. And when you become skilled at that, then time has a different meaning. Time moves very quickly when you're in production, when you're in results, when you're in consciousness. Time is very slow when you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt. Time is very slow when your health isn't good. Time is very slow when you're in your head, processing, thinking, analyzing, in an overwhelmed state of unconsciousness. When you let go, separate your feelings from the events that shape them, then you're no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. I coached several of my clients in the last 2 days, giving them deep insight on the inner skills that are required to transform. Now, many people hire me and they want me to give them the goods. They want me to give them the insight, the wisdom. And I can do that, but for you to live the life on your terms and your time frame, then you prepare yourself and you execute. You prepare and execute, and you do the effort 1 day at a time, 7 days a week, as the compounded effect starts to compound. But what most people do, they're very sporadic, they're very inconsistent, they're very overwhelmed about the emotional effort devoted to the process of change. So the process of change starts with simplicity, the skills. That's where the power within you is. the skills to change your sentence structure. So when you communicate, you're in a committed language structure. You're in a committed language style. You eliminate need to. You eliminate I'd like to. You eliminate guess. You eliminate I don't know. You eliminate kinda and sorta. And that your sentence structure flows. And when you communicate, you're able to communicate easily and effortlessly, articulating your feelings. The reason that many people have challenges branding, writing, content writing, blogging, doing videos, podcasts, speaking, because of their anxiety about the outcome that hasn't happened, about not being good enough. Who am I to be able to speak in front of people? Who am I to be able to be successful? Guilt drives a lot of people's emotions. Guilt is what other people have done to you to rob you of your energy. Shame is what's happened to you or what you've done to yourself to rob you even less of that energy. So you're now near the bottom of the chain of emotions. That is apathy. When you're able to separate your feelings, that means you let go. And when letting go becomes a skill and letting go is I'm always letting go, then you will seldom be in conflict. You will seldom feel disappointed. Your health will improve drastically. You will be able to heal thyself. You'll be able to focus on yourself without feeling guilty. You'll be a lot more productive. You'll be able to create results on command. And as you learn this, now you can teach it. You cannot teach what you're not if you're self-practicing. That's the contradiction that so many people live in. They want to enroll that one great superstar. They want that one great client. They want that one great producer to show up in their life, but they themselves are not in the action. They're inactive on the bench, expecting to attract someone who can save or rescue them. And that's not going to happen because luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And when you learn to execute over and over and over, the repetition and experience, that becomes power. When you sit on the bench, when you get ready, when you're overwhelmed, when you procrastinate, when you avoid, that will keep you in a very low energetic state called anxiety. And that anxiety is driven by a series of emotions connected to a series of events that are unresolved. Anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, and apathy. When you can practice letting go, you change your power. When you're in anxiety, you have no power. When you have in anxiety, you're in a mixed message. You're in a body that runs a brain, in an overwhelmed body, attempting to be in control of what you can't control, so you stay out of control. And in that controlled state, you're worried a lot. And that sense of worry will also create a body that requires something to take the edge off. Chocolate, drugs, alcohol, barbiturates, psychotropic drugs, compulsive debting, spending, under-earning, underachieving, cutting, anorexia, bulimia, sex, and other multitudes of situations that will keep you living in a low vibrational state with no power. And then here's the way that many people say, I'm going to force myself through it. I'm going to will myself through it. By God, I'll do it if it kills me. That's force. That does not happen that way. When you force, you create your own opposition. When you let go, then you're not the counter force to your own force. And when you're in force, what you do is you'll fail and then you'll criticize yourself so you can create the force to be your own counter force so you cannot be good enough. When you understand that that's what you do and you become rigorously honest, transformation, the transformation, the inner game of transformation requires rigorous honesty, that I am honest with self. As a recovering addict, pathological liar, drug addict, serial cheater, thief, these are the things I was between 18 and 28. And it required me to be rigorously honest about the depth of deprivation that I'd allowed myself to graduate down to. And when you become honest with self, honest, rigorously honest, when you become honest, that's when you start to have clarity. Until you are honest, you don't have clarity, and then you'll say a lot of, I don't know, I don't understand. How am I supposed to remember that? I was only 5 years old when that happened. You don't understand. My situation was very challenging. You don't understand. I had a very good childhood. You don't understand. See, when you continue to edify what you don't want, when you continue to edify what you're not able to comprehend, then you'll stay in denial. When you're able to edify, comprehend, understand, be aware, and know, now you have the advantage because now you moved into consciousness. You've scaled yourself up into a place called courage. Courage is not an emotion. Courage is a quality. Courage is not a situation you live in. What you live in is you live in consciousness. That's knowing, understanding, being aware. That's what changes your energy. That's what changes your power. When you're in that state, you're not in a mixed message. You're not transmuting your feelings from anxiety. You're transmuting your feelings from a relaxed state called love, joy, bliss, awareness, understanding, and knowing. You don't get rattled. You don't feel rejected. You don't feel abandoned. You don't feel like someone ghosted you. When someone tells you they'll get back to you and they don't, it doesn't bother you because you have more leads than time. You don't live in scarcity. You're not in poverty consciousness. You're not worried about money. You're not trying to collect money from someone. You're not squeezing someone. You're also skilled at asking for what is yours. You don't have guilt about asking for it. You're able to collect. Many vendors and contractors perform services without asking for the commitment or asking for the money. Then they try to collect after the fact, and then the people who are supposed to pay them don't because they weren't skilled at collecting. And if that is you, then it's time you change your dialogue with money. You can't be in power when you're in guilt. You can't be in power when you're in shame because you're disempowered. You can't be empowered when you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt. You have no power. When you have no power, you have no voice. You have no voice because the voice was sucked out of you as a child. You were told that children are not to be seen and not heard. You were told to be quiet. You were told not to make any noise. You were told to sit right there and don't say a single word. Don't get in trouble. Whatever you do, don't embarrass the family. You were told all these things not to do. And then you went into fight or flight in doing it. So what happens to a large percent of society, they live in a state of consciousness called mistake consciousness. And they're more concerned with making mistakes than they are creating a result. They're more concerned with not embarrassing themselves. They're more concerned with not being rejected. They're more concerned with staying overwhelmed than they are letting go. And when you live in this state of unconscious consciousness, you attract your reality, people and situations to fulfill the feelings that you continue to create. Now, in rigorous honesty, and addicts hate to do this. This is one of the biggest challenges, that if you're emotionally addicted, that your ego will continue to say, no, that's not me. You have to ask yourself, what's the payoff? Now, most of society does not like to admit that they're actually receiving a benefit by avoiding, by procrastinating, by being an addict, by under-earning and underachieving. Payoff? What do you mean payoff? I don't like this. I understand that, but you're 45 years old. You have pennies in your pocket, zero in your bank account. Creditors calling. You're making a six-figure income and you don't have a credit card. I mean, this is part of what's wrong with America, is they've been duped. And you're being duped right now into wearing a mask and doing other situations that you know you shouldn't. And I'm not suggesting you don't wear a mask. I mean, I understand. I comply with the situations. But in context, you understand what I mean because you know, and you know what you know. And you know that it's time to change. And it's time to change right fucking now. And you know that. However, your ego goes, well, that may be true, but I want to put it off just a little more. I'll wait till August 1st. That's what I'll do. Or even September 1st. That's what I'll do. I'll wait till September 1st. Or I'll find the money to hire him. That's what I'll do. But see, when you're resourceful, when you're competitive, when you're skilled, when you're tenacious, and when you have passion, then you don't have the same set of stories. When you're innovative and you're creative, you're resourceful. And it's that resourcefulness that will keep you in the business while you figure out the business. But if you're not resourceful, you'll stand behind the business waiting for the business to take off. And then you'll say something like this, my business isn't taking off. Well, I've said this to many people before. Businesses don't take off. You're either productive or you're not. Your business will grow if you're growing it. That means that if you're doing the effort for your business and your vocation 5, 6, 7 days a week in dedicated blocks of time where you're not winging it and you're not just spare timing it and you're actually committed to that process, you're in a place called now o'clock. And now o'clock means now. It's now o'clock. It means it's now time. Now time is no time because when it's now, you know, and you know it's time to produce. And when you also know, you don't chase people because you can tell in the way they communicate whether they're a qualified buyer or whether they're telling you a story. And in that situation, you become a professional. Now, for you to live in your power. Now, power is non-physical. See, power has no shape and form. It's not a basketball. It's not a softball. It's not a baseball that put your fingers on the laces. You don't throw a curveball in power because power has no shape and form. Power isn't linear. Power is emotional. Power stands alone. Power enlifts people. Force creates an opposition. In power, there is no opposition. So that's why you can let go of someone and not feel bad about the situation. That's why you can detach from family or friends and you don't feel bad about it, or you're not worried because you're in power. And in power, you know that you'll attract people who can replace any situation. Power has no dependency because power is independent. Power is no outside source because power is its source. Power is here and now. when you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt, you're waiting for the future and you're looking back at regret in the past. Power lives in the present. Power is focus, the power of focus. Focus is power because that's what it is. It's power. Power doesn't have to explain itself. It doesn't validate. It doesn't justify. Power neutralizes. Power is humility because in power, you're so humble that you can't be humiliated. Henceforth, you cannot be rejected. And so no one rejects you. When someone says, I'm ending this relationship, in power, you can say, I understand. And that person goes, no, I'm ending this relationship. And you can go, I understand. Well, I want to rise from you. I want you to get angry at me. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm in power. You're not. This is all unconscious. So when you're in power, there's no narrator. There's no voices in your head narrating, wait, you better get in conflict. This is your chance to get in an argument. This is your chance to be right. This is your chance to prove someone wrong. This is your chance to waste your day today being pissed off at someone who you don't even really care about. But they showed up, so why should it? That an addict always wants a little more. When you're in power, there is no addiction because you're not addicted to anything. I've heard people say I'm addicted to success. Well, that's not. Why would you want to be addicted to success? Because success is an accomplishment, but success isn't you. Success is outside of you. You are success. See, the way most people deem success is out there, but success is really in here. Power requires no recognition and no rewards. Power does not require any outside love because power is love. Power is esteem. And in esteem, it means regard for self without feeling selfish or explaining or having to validate or justify. Power is peace, and that peaceful power and that powerful peace that you bring into free enterprise, into the world, into your household, into your church, into the universe, other people feel it because they feel that power. And when you're in a very low vibration, people also feel that. They feel your anxiety, fear, and doubt. And then they tend to drift away from you because that energy repels people. But power magnifies people. Power attracts people. Power attracts other people in power. Power empowers people. So when you're in your power, you're in yourself. You're your best self without any explanation, without any details. And this is why in power, you can't be rejected. Someone can insult you, but you're not insultable. You're able to deflect it very easily and effortlessly. And then when you are out of the conversation, you don't spend time edifying what a jerk they were. I can't believe they did this. You don't try and make sense of it. Because in the skill of always letting go, you're letting go. You're able to easily and effortlessly let go. You're able to move on in a very relaxed body. And you are you, and you are free. I was selling off part of my collection recently, some of my collectibles. I was selling off a gas pump and a couple of cars, and there was a broker in my building. And he looked at my building, and one of the things that fascinated him, I have a sign that was painted, given to me by a client that said, I am me, I am free. And he said, say, how much is that sign? I'd like to buy that. And I said, well, that's not for sale, sir. He goes, well, everyone has a price. I said, well, that one's not for sale. That has more meaning. And he wanted to negotiate. It's a wooden sign. No matter what he wanted to pay for it, wouldn't accept it because it has more meaning than money. And all it is a wooden sign given to me by a client, and I mean Pete in Philadelphia about 10 years ago, but it says, I am me, I am free. It's custom-made wooden sign. It's beautiful, but it's too valuable to sell because that sign is power. That sign has power in it, but it's not the cost of it, it's the value. It's invaluable. That is power. See, when you're in your power, no one can take your power because it doesn't matter who wins the election. It doesn't matter who comes and goes. It doesn't matter how much money you make or don't make because in your power, you're not worried about it because in power, there's plenty. And so in power, you can reinvent yourself like this. In power, you can be creative and innovative like this. So when in power, you don't focus on lack, you focus on results and solutions. When you go to bed at night, you know that at midnight, you get a new bank account. Every single night, the bank account's called time. It's 86,400 seconds, 1,440 minutes. And that is power because every single day you get to be yourself and you get to do it over and you get to be your best every single day. And see, when you come from that state of being my best, then you don't have to criticize yourself. There's nothing to be critical of because you already know that you've done your best. And your best might not show a result, but you don't have to have a result to be your best because you know you're best because you're in your power. And it's that power that magnifies people. It is that power that attracts people, because that power is charisma. That power that you're transmuting right there, that power is attractive to people, not sexually, but emotionally, because they feel it. That's the power of caring. That's the power of empathy. But you're not so empathic that you require someone else to fix, but you're able to give insight and wisdom to someone else and able to detach and let it go. And in that type of power, people gravitate to that power. That attractor factor in that power is very, very effective, because all of a sudden people begin to show up. And in a leverage business, this can absolutely change the direction or the course of a business you're building, because you've let go of a lot of the anxieties, fears, doubts, the events that held shame and guilt, the anger that you held for being violated and traumatized, and you're no longer the mind-body connection to those events. This changes your health. This changes your energy. This changes asthma, psoriasis. This changes skin issues. This changes back issues. This changes neck issues. All of a sudden you start to align. Your back aligns, your neck aligns, because you are in alignment, because you are in your power. You're no longer whining and complaining. You no longer are talking about there's no good men out there and there's no good women out there, because you change your perspective, you change your view, because you have changed the difference between force and power. And when you're in this type of power, you begin to attract your reality frequently, quality like-minded vendors, contractors, success seekers, teammates, soulmates, customers, product users, people who will buy from you, people of influence, people of affluence. It's amazing what happens. I recently joined a website I joined a social media platform. It was very interesting. A very, very successful social influencer started following me. This is a woman who has 9 million followers. This always happens to me. Now, when you're able to separate feelings from the events, and you're no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, that's when you're in your power. That power is called consciousness. That is awareness, understanding, knowing, and trust. Now, when you trust yourself, then you don't make mistakes. When you don't trust yourself, you make mistakes to fulfill your feelings. That's the payoff you get by being mistake conscious. So if you can't find someone to point out your mistakes, you'll make a mistake to fulfill your feelings, to fulfill the payoff. Now, when you understand that that's what you do, and you're honest with yourself, and you're not critical, so you can be honest without being critical, that's sobriety. And as you begin to let go, that's separating the feelings from the events, that's what changes the energy from anxiety, fear, and doubt to consciousness. And so when you move into prosperity consciousness, that means that you attract your reality frequently, quality like-minded, like I said, contractors, vendors, soulmates, teammates, people who you can inspire, people you can uplift, people who are uplifted, inspired. Then there becomes win-win situations with very little conflict. And in that type of energy, there's called community, is collaboration. There's very little conflict, because you're not trying to prove anyone wrong. You're an ambassador of change. You're teaching change, and you'll attract more frequently people who are looking for what you're looking for. And it's that energy that you begin to transmute, that you've let go of anxiety, fear, and doubt, of anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, and apathy. It's that energy that you begin to shift, that begins to change the course of who and what you attract. Attraction is a science. As you begin to understand the science of attraction, how energy operates, how to let go, the inner skill of letting go, the separation of feeling from the events, understanding the chronology, the timeline, the cause, the effect. Jennifer Spar is on Facebook Live this afternoon. I had an exceptional call with her last night. She says, I feel amazing, so happy to be conscious and letting go. I've coached Jennifer for going on 2 years. Josh Moran is on Facebook Live today. Scale the levels of consciousness. What that means is that as you let go of anxiety, fear, and doubt, the next level of consciousness is courage. But courage and consciousness is a quality, it's not an emotion. So you can be courageous, but it is an emotion to be courageous, but it's a quality, it's not an emotion you live in. You access courage to overcome a situation, but you don't stay in courage. It's a quality, once again. But once you have the courage to let go, then you step forward, you move beyond courage. Then you move up to the bottom of consciousness. And the bottom of consciousness in feeling, you start to trust yourself. That means your cycles per second start to go up to about 225 to 250 cycles a second. Then as you move into a state of aware and acceptance takes you up to about 300 cycles a second. You can accept that you've made mistakes in your past. You can make amends to the people you've made mistakes for. You can ask for forgiveness. Now you're starting to scale up into 325, 350. As you move into 350 cycles a second, that means your energy can be calibrated and measured. It's moving a little faster, but at a very relaxed speed, not a high definition speed where there's a lot of force, but a very relaxed speed. People begin to feel that. Now you move into empathy without being over empathetic, where you're trying to fix people. It means you can hear people, you can understand them. It means you can be there with them, but you're not attached to their results. You're not trying to control the outcome, but this is when you start to go from being a leader to a mentor. And this is the scale of consciousness that takes you up to about 300 to 350 to 400 cycles a second. And then in that same state of power, now you move into a place called knowing. Now when you know, then you don't know. And when you know, you start to, from the quantum field, you start to attract energy and you start to know a lot more. And you start to create synchronistic events like this. People begin to show up differently. And the people that show up they're a lot more like-minded like you, because they've been doing what you're doing. This becomes the power of attraction. And as you begin to live in this energy, it's a be and stay state. You seldom ever relapse in this state because you understand this key component in power, that the pleasure isn't worth the pain. So when you look at a drink and you go, no thanks. Or you look at a piece of cheesecake, go, not for me, cheese. Or when someone tempts you and you go, something you know you shouldn't do, but your ego says, do it. And you go, no, I'll pass. With no explanation. You're able to walk away in power. That is power. My name is Jeffery Combs. I'm the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. This is the GMS Tuesday call that I host every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. For the first 2 years of my career, from 1998 to 2000, this was a live More Heart Than Talent Mindset call that I hosted at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. When I hosted this 10:30 Eastern Standard Time up until 2018, then I changed the forum to a live Facebook Live every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. I also do Facebook Lives at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Thursday. I'll be hosting a live Facebook Live this evening at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. Thank you very much for being on today's live. Have a great afternoon. If you've not accessed a free 20-minute coaching call and you'd like to experience that, go ahead and send me a friend or a Facebook message, and I'll respond to your message within 24 hours. And thank you, Ryan Graham, Wayne Clark, Angela, Lisa Pazanza. Many of my clients are on today's Facebook Live. Thank you for being first-class people that are empowering others, and thank you for allowing me to be your coach for the last several years. Karen, thank you very much. Have a great afternoon. Debbie, thank you. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
More Heart Than Talent Radio.